Hey guys, Greg here for Party Foul. I got Scott behind the camera, and I'm going to talk about soul collection and how that sort of works, and some of the weird situations that can come up when it comes to collecting souls and which models are eligible to collect those souls. So in the nasty world of Immorin, everything is a resource or a potential resource for certain factions, and souls are no exception. Crix is probably the penultimate soul usage faction. Convergence also uses souls, but only friendly souls. Scorn uses friendly souls as a resource, and there's other people that use souls as resources, like Alexia. Certain oddball casters will have Cull Soul and that type of thing, and other things will have collect souls. So I'm going to tell you how it works generally. I'm going to go into some specific examples to show you how some weirdness may come up. So how does it work? I'm going to read Cull Soul to you just so you get a general sense. This is a general rule for Cull Soul. Most Crix casters have them, at least the undead ones. So I think P. Denegra doesn't have that ability. Cull Soul. This model gains 1 soul token for each living enemy model destroyed within 2 inches of it. When this model replenishes its focus during your next control phase, replace each soul token on it with 1 focus point. So some very specific things to Cull Soul that don't necessarily apply to other soul collection things. 1, it has to be a living enemy model, and it has to be within 2 inches, and it has to be destroyed. That means it can't be RFP'd or removed from play or removed at the box step or the disabled step. It has to progress to the destroyed step, and then it will provide a soul token. Unlike some of the other ones, like some of the Scorn ones, you want a living friendly faction model. That's the Scorn's kind of thing. They kind of collect their friendly faction souls. And Convergence as well, they collect friendly faction souls from Clockwork Vessels. So that's basically the way it works. A living model, and it's not just living models. Some, like Convergent Construct, Clockwork Vessels, they count as living models for soul collection. So even though they're not living, they count as living for soul collection. So only living models generally provide souls, and you have to find out what is the collection range of the models that may be eligible. So say in this situation we have Epic Denegra, who has Cull Soul, which is 2 inches, and we have Deathjack, who also has Cull Soul, which is 10 inches, and we have 2 Enigma Foundries, which have a special ability I can't remember the name of right now, but they have a collection range which is equal to their command, which is 10. The Pistol Wraith has an ability to collect souls, but he can only do it by killing people with his guns. And the Wither Shadow Combine also have a way to collect souls that is just by using the Darkfire spell ability. So know your model's collection abilities and know the collection range and know what you have to do to get them. Some are control, some are command, some are default 2 inches. When it comes to soul collection priority, which model is going to get the soul, in general and overall, proximity is the overriding factor. So the model that is closest to the model that's been destroyed, that is going to provide a soul, gains that soul. Okay? That's a general rule. There are some special exceptions. One example is right here, the Wither Shadow Combine. When they use the Darkfire ability, their Darkfire ability specifies that they gain the soul regardless of proximity. Okay? Zal from Scorn, one of the warlocks, he has a special ability called Direct Spirits, so he decides which model gains the soul token in his control area. And another model that has a special ability that relates to soul collection is the Testament of Menoth, and he has a special ability that's called Omegas, and that means that enemy models do not gain soul tokens in his control area. So those are some special exceptions to be aware of. If you have models that have soul collection, just check and make sure that there are no exceptions to proximity. If your opponent has a model that you think may, or that he thinks may have an exception to proximity, then just ask him to read the rule on the card or take a look at the card to make sure that is correct. So I'm going to do a couple examples to show you how that proximity works for soul collection, and then that's going to be it. It's a fairly simple thing. Also, most models have a cap or a capacity to hold soul tokens. So for example, Enigma Foundries can only hold 3 soul tokens, Deathjack can have 5, Cull Soul doesn't have a cap, so if Denegra somehow 20 models die in her 2-inch collection range, then she can have 20 souls, which we're going to turn into 20 focus the following turn. The Pistol Wraith, I believe, is 3, and same thing for the Wither Shadow. I believe they can have 3 soul tokens as well. All right, so here's the example I've set up here. I've got a number of models that have soul collection abilities. I have the Enigma Foundries here. They have that 10-inch friendly faction soul collection. There's a unit of reductors that don't have any soul collection, but they provide souls because they are living clockwork vessels for soul collection rules. We have the Deathjack, who has Cull Soul. We have Denegra. We have the Pistol Wraith. We have the Wither Shadow Combine. So I should mention that they all have caps, that they can only collect a certain number of souls. The Enigma Foundries are 3, Deathjack is 5, Epic Denegra is unlimited as long as they're within 2 inches of her, Pistol Wraith can carry 3, and each of the Wither Shadow Combine can get 3. So we'll say in this example, for the Pistol Wraith shoots this Reductor right here and manages to hit him even though he's engaged in melee and stuff like that. So when you're determining who gets the soul, Denegra is the closest model. She has the closest proximity. The Pistol Wraith does not have ability that overrides that, so she will gain that soul token. Conversely, if the Pistol Wraith shoots this Reductor and kills him, the Foundry has proximity to that Reductor. The Pistol Wraith does not have a special rule that overrides it, so the Foundry will get that soul. Alright, then we have the Wither Shadow Combine. They come up and they do Darkfire and kill 3 Reductors. Because they have a special rule that overrides proximity, they will get those soul tokens, and the Foundries will get none. If Denegra walks up to here, and she does some melee attacks, and she kills all 4 of these guys, then because she has proximity, she will gain those soul tokens. But if Deathjack was here, basing this guy, and she killed all these models with melee attacks, he would get the soul of this Reductor because he is closest to that guy. Now finally, so that's pretty simple. Like I said, proximity, for the most part, that's the overriding factor to determine who gets the soul token. Some models, like the Wither Shadow Combine, are an exception. Know your models, know your rules. I can't possibly list all the ones that may have exceptions, just know your models. I'm going to cover something that I saw a question in the forums on. Deathjack tramples. I don't know if there's any other model that can collect souls that can trample. We're going to show you an example of trample with Deathjack and show you when he will get those soul tokens and when that's who gets them for proximity. So with the trample attack, you have to spend your focus, you have to forfeit your initials, you indicate the spot that you want the model to finish. So I take my proxy base and I put it here to indicate that that's where I want the model to land. I spend my focus and then I do a trample. I make sure that the distance is enough that it's not over the distance that he can trample, and it's 8 inches, so he can make that trample. Before I move the model, I'm going to use my laser, which is a very cool tool, to go edge to edge on this side to see that I do contact this model's base and this model's base. So actually, he only tramples these 3 models. This model would get a free strike, this model would get a free strike, and he's going to end in this model's melee range and not take a free strike. So after you've determined that, you know what's going on, you move the Deathjack, you place him, you do the free strikes, correct? I got that right? No? Yeah. Do the free strikes?
No, you do the attacks
Okay,
first.
you do the attacks for the trample first, and we'll say that he makes his attacks and kills all of these models. These 2 guys make their free strikes, do negligible damage to the Deathjack, and now we have to determine who's going to get the souls. Now, even though the Deathjack started here, and in theory, while he's trampling over, he is trampling over this guy and killing him, you would think, oh, he gets a soul. But no, for tramples, it is the end position of the trample that determines proximity for soul collection. So if he kills these 2 models, he will get the soul for these 2 guys. But if he kills this model with the trample attack, he will not get the soul for that because he is not within 2 inches to collect that soul. Another model that has that ability, like the Enigma Foundries, because they have their 10-inch collection range, they're fine. But if the situation was slightly different and this guy was within 2 inches of Denegra and Deathjack had trampled him and killed him, Denegra would get that because she has proximity on that model and the Foundries are too far away. Okay? Just to sort of illustrate that again, if this Foundry was base to base with this Reductor and after the trample Deathjack had bought an attack on that Reductor and killed him, Deathjack would not get that soul because he's a ½ inch away from that model and the Foundry is closer. So once again, proximity is the determining factor for who gets that soul. So that is soul collection. It's, once you get down to it, it's fairly simple. Just be aware of the exceptions. Proximity rules all, and have fun collecting those souls.
Body count. This model gains 1 soul token each time it destroys a living enemy model.
Is that Death Jack?
No, that's Pistol Wraith. So does that ignore...
Does not ignore proximity.
Even though it says this model gains 1 soul token each time it destroys.
Its proximity still is the overriding factor.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
positive.
As long as you're positive, that was the only thing. 'Cause
unless-
I remember this actually came up the other day, and the guy was like, "No,
Yeah.
it says when he destroys it." And I was like, "All right, whatever." I believe
No, I
you."
know, but if it does not specify that it overrides that primary rule, then it still applies.
Okay.
So it's just they couldn't really give him a collection range because then he's gonna have this 10-inch bubble that he can get stuff, right?
No, but it's just what he destroys. That's why.
Yes. So if he destroys it, he's now eligible to get that soul, but proximity is still the overriding
Proximity.
factor.
It doesn't need proximity. He's got 10 inches for what he destroys. But
I know, but if he kills this guy, the Foundry's still closer. He scoops it up.
okay.